Okay, so my name's Heather and I work for a company we call Clarity Consultants, and we work with companies one-to-one to help them grow. And we really look at the individual, we look at the client and create a growth plan that will really work for you as individuals. I think we've all probably filled in forms along the way, which are tick box exercises that we never look at again. So we really tailor in on you as a person. So I'm going to go straight into the presentation. Oh, one more person coming in. I'm just going to share a file for you in the chat. I'll wait till Andrew's in so he can see it. You can open this up and everything I'm going to go through, this is in the worksheet as well. It's just uploading as we speak. But don't worry if you can't get it open, I will send it out afterwards as well. Like I said, this presentation is on how to generate sales and increase your sales. And we look at the basics going back to who your client is. I go into this bit in a lot of detail. I think it's so important to get the groundwork right. I don't know if you work for other people or you own your own company, but very, very rarely, and I can vouch for this as a company owner, do we go back to the basics and reevaluate our customers as companies move on. So we're going to start with that. Okay, so now that everybody is in, I'm going to share my screen and we'll just get straight into the presentation. Like I said, any questions, stick it into the chat. I will try and get to it at the end. If not, I will answer it and email you all your answers back afterwards. So can I get a quick thumbs up? Can you see this presentation? Yes, excellent. Okay. This work's designed to help you understand, plan, and execute sales strategies that work for your business. It will be interactive. Hopefully, you have the worksheets in the chat. If it's not coming through or downloading, we will talk through it all on here and I will send it out. I'm going to introduce you to Sarah at the start, who is going to be our real world example, so you can try and put it into context. And there's activities through it that you can do on the call or you can do afterwards. So first of all, let's meet Sarah. So Sarah's going to be our example client. She is a freelance social media manager based in Glasgow. She works on her own, supporting small business owners. Typically, her clients are women-led businesses in wellness, retail, and professional services. Her clients are 30 to 50s, passionate but overwhelmed by social media. I think we can probably all relate to that to some extent. Offers management packages and one-to-one training, known for being friendly, jargon-free and reliable, and provides peace of mind by keeping clients visible online. So we'll use Sarah as a running example through today, because I know sometimes when I'm going to throw a lot of questions at you, and it can be easier to see an example than just trying to work out what all the questions mean. So the first part we're going to look at is your ideal customer. Now, I imagine that at some point everybody's done this piece of work within their companies or within the company that they work for. But I do want to go through it because I know personally for myself, I've had the company for 7 years and I have changed clientele along the way. So it's really important to keep going back to it. So who is your ideal customer? Now we're looking at age, location, industry. I want to go into a lot of detail. Where do they spend their time, online and offline? I think when we look at marketing particularly, we can do a lot of reviews online, but offline is equally as important. How do they typically find businesses like yours? What
Absolutely. I've got to look at
um, what influences their buying decisions? Is it price, testimonials, referrals, etc.? What's their preferred method of communication? Email, social media, calls, face to face. I'm a massive believer that face to face selling still works and is if you can get face to face with someone, it's going to be so much better than anything you can possibly do online. Some may disagree. And then what type of content do they engage with most? Videos, blogs, infographics, case studies. So we're going to go into detail. And I want you to do this piece of work first, once we're off this call, before you go on to the sales part. So if we go back to Sarah, so Sarah's ideal customer is a small business owner, 30 to 50, especially in Glasgow, Edinburgh, and their industry is wellness, retail, professional services. So we touched on that at the start. She spends her customers spend their time on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, but also local business networking such as SWIB, Glasgow Girls Clubs, chamber events. So a lot of business networking. So we've got that face-to-face side as well as the online. And they typically find businesses like yours. So through referrals, networking, searching on LinkedIn and Instagram for local social media support. I think referrals is a really interesting one. I've worked with lots of people who've said, well, we get lots of our sales from word of mouth. And that's brilliant. That's what we want. That is the ideal scenario. What I would say is that if somebody gives you a recommendation, what do? You instantly go and search for them. Do they have a website? Are they on social media? So word of mouth is amazing, but what do you do after that? What influences our buying decisions? So for Sarah, it's testimonials, word of mouth referrals, and seeing results from other clients. So those real case studies and testimonials coming through is going to be important. She prefers direct messaging or LinkedIn or Instagram for initial contact, and then Zoom calls or face-to-face coffee chats. This is really important. I lost a client. I'll be really honest. I lost a client because my preferred method tends to be WhatsApp or a message, and then I'll meet online for initial chat. I was trying to get in touch with a client. They just weren't replying to me. I didn't do the sensible thing and pick up the phone, and I lost that client, and later learned that they hate messaging, they hate anything online, they want a phone call, they want to meet for a coffee. So knowing how your customers are going to communicate with you is really important. And what types of content do they engage with most? So short videos, success stories, before and after case studies showing growth. And that really ties into how she said she consumes social media. Okay, so I've flown through this quickly because I want to go on to the sales part, but it is important. But for this ideal customer part, be really clear on who it is you want to work with. I know there's a company on here, there's a few that does furniture for hospitality. That's brilliant. That's a really clear market. But are you bars? Are you hotels? What sector of hospitality you're going into? Know where they spend their time, understand how they find you, recognize that what drives their decision, and match your communication and content to their preference. And this will give you a really clear picture of your ideal customer, and the easier it is to attract and sell to them. Okay, so that's your kind of background work. We then want to go on to mapping your sales journey. Now, in here, there's different stages. I'm sure everyone's heard the terminology of a sales funnel. I don't like the terminology, but it is what it is. So we're going to go through the different stages of this. And I always think a sales funnel, everyone thinks of it, you're coming down to your key core target market. But I always think it's more like it then has these wee tails that go off it at the end of it and how you keep those customers coming back. So the first stage is awareness. So how do potential customers first become aware of you? And this is right at the top of the funnel. This is where you want to attract the most number of people. So is it ads, referrals, social media? Is it going to be through good SEO? So is your website really visible? Or is it through face-to-face networking? There's so many different ways people become aware of you. For me, it's a lot of word of mouth, and then I go to networking events where my ideal customer is, and I meet as many people as possible. And that is that wide funnel. So a lot of word of mouth and face-to-face networking. So then we go on to the interest stage. So what makes them interested in learning more? If you've been to a networking event, or you've got somebody's given you a referral through word of mouth, they're interested, but how are you going to keep them interested? How are you getting to move down this funnel? So this is where things like educational content, free resources, your testimonials, the bits that, okay, they've seen you, but how are they going to buy into you? I always think if you look at your awareness stage, it's almost like a shop front. So if you're walking past, so you're going down a shopping centre and you've got all your shop fronts and something gets your attention, that's the shop for you. And then you go into it, and then it starts, this interest part comes in. This is where you start going through all of the, say it's a clothes shop, the clothes in there. So what is it in there that's going to grab their attention and keep them that little bit longer? And then they're on to the consideration stage. So how do they compare you to competitors? So is it through price? Is it down to solely reviews and that word of mouth recommendation? Do they need case studies? Do they need to be able to see their pain point and how you can fix it? And does it need to go a step further? Do you need to demo how you're actually going to solve their pain point for them? And then we move down to the decisions. So we're getting to the very end of the funnel here, and what final factor pushes them into making a purchase. There's discounts, you might have limited numbers, there's that urgency. There's the trust factor. They just like you. You've through the different stages, they've learned to trust you. Or there's guarantees. I recently was told that my car engine was dead and it was going to cost me £10,000 to replace it, which was heartbreaking. So I went and I replaced it with a Kia for the sole reason it has a 7-year guarantee. So for me, I looked at all the different cars, and for me, that decision point was I don't want to be told in the next 7 years that I have to replace an engine. So, what is that deciding factor? And then retention is how you keep them and how you engage with them and encourage them for repeat business, because we all know the cheapest way to build a company and to build your sales is to keep the same people buying. It costs money to go out and find new sales constantly. So is it follow-ups, loyalty programs, exclusive offers, etc. So if we go back to Sarah and look at how this works for her, she uses within this awareness stage social media post, network introduction and referrals. To keep them interested, she uses her social media to give out free tips shared on LinkedIn and Instagram. Now, what I would say is, well, a lot of people that I've started working with said, well, if I give away free information, then will they come and work with me? Well, absolutely. Only 10% of people generally see any posts or content you put out, be it a newsletter or WhatsApp, a social media post. And if you do every Wednesday a top tip, it's guaranteed they're not going to see all of them. But what they will do is you'll build trust with them for them to be able to go, okay, that person knows what they're talking about. So when they need you, you're the forefront of their mind. Engaging Reels, she loves her video content, and a downloadable 5 quick fixes for your social media guide. What I love about free downloadables or free information people can go to your website for is it does multiple different things. It gets people to your website. Generally everyone will find you for whatever reason at that awareness stage. But if you can get them to your website, they can see the full array of what you can offer. Also, it starts to build your database, and databases are currency. They have value. And even if they're not ready to buy at that stage, if they are then downloading something from your website, you can then start automations where they get additional emails or additional content or reminders, or they go onto your newsletter. So by giving them something, you're getting a lot more back from it. On the consideration stage, so Sarah makes sure that she has lots of testimonials up there and case studies. She knows her audience will buy from that trust. LinkedIn recommendations. I don't know if anybody uses LinkedIn recommendations. They are so easy to ask for, and so many people don't use them, but they're brilliant for your visibility on LinkedIn and great for content on your socials. And comparing her pricing strategy against agency. So she's also looking at her competition and what she can do to compete with them. Now, when we look at that, when we go back to that stage, when we look at looking at our pricing, this does not mean you have to be cheaper. She knows that testimonials and trust is important to her audience. It's okay for her to be more expensive as long as she can, when somebody asks her or challenges on her, she has her answers. So know your competitors is important. At the decision stage, so again, we're back to that trust. So she's approachable and explains things in plain English. And the urgency, so she has limited slots. So between the trust and the urgency, that is how people are deciding on whether to book with her or not. And for retention, she's having monthly check-ins. She's sharing new strategy ideas, so she's got them in her database. She's keeping them as warm leads, even though they've bought, and offering discounts for upselling training sessions. I know I have my group of what I call the road mappers, people that have worked with me in the past, and I send them discounts to different networking events, to different trainings, and then every now and again I'll throw them a wee deal on a strategy session to keep them coming back. Okay, so your sales journey. So you want to map out this funnel and know at every stage what it is you're offering. So customer moves through all the stages, not just one step. It's interesting to find out what stage they're at when they find you, when you speak to them. And each stage needs the right touch point. Trust and clarity are what turns interest into decision. And retention is just as important as that first sale. So map your customer's journey and plan how you're going to guide them from that awareness stage into loyalty stage. Someone else joining us. Perfect. Okay, now we're on to your signature offer. What are you actually selling them? There's a lot of questions in this one, so bear with me, you do have the download. So what is your main product and service? So for me, it's my growth roadmap, my one-to-one session. But what you need to know is, what is the specific problem does it solve for your customer? What makes it unique compared to your competitors? Now, this could simply be, it's you. You are the person that makes it unique. How can you position your offer as a must-have instead of a nice-to-have? I don't know if anyone else is, I'm like a supermarket's dream. All the stuff that's nice to have next to the till, I buy it all. Or I get all the flick throughs and your stories on Instagram and I buy all the stuff. So they're nice twos. But what makes it a must have? If you can go from a nice to a must have, the buying power is much quicker as well. What additional value can you provide to enhance your offer? What is your pricing strategy and does it reflect the true value of your offer? This goes both ways, up and down in price. I'm working with a lady just now who her prices are way, way too low, and we've agreed on a price she will charge now. However, she doesn't have her own trust in her value, so she's doing 2 months worth of work, writing down every single bit of detail where she spends her time, what clients she spends it on, and she's 6 weeks into it and now realizes she has to put her price higher than what we'd agreed on because she now understands the value in what she's offering. What objections might potential customers have and how will you address them? I have a whole sheet on this at the end. This is probably the most difficult part in sales, is when somebody comes back with an objection, but there's generally some really easy ways around it. How will you communicate your offer effectively across different marketing channels? What's the easiest way for your customer to say yes and purchase your offer? And how can you follow up with customers to ensure satisfaction and encourage repeat business? So there's a lot you have to go through here. So let's start working through them one by one. If we look at Sarah again, what her main product is her monthly social media management package. Now, when you're doing this, I want to think for you to think of the big ticket item you want to sell. Okay, you should do this process for every part you've got, even if it's your free downloads, etc. But we're looking at the big ticket one here because that's what we want people to get to. So for Sarah, it's the monthly social media management package. The problem it solves is it takes away stress, it ensures a consistent online presence, and it generates inquiries. What makes it unique compared to our competitors is it's personal. It's one-to-one versus a big agency. And she explains it clearly without jargon, and she's very localized. So this matters a lot as well. Where is your geographical reach, and are you pitching to the right area? I spoke to a friend stroke client yesterday, and she has a brilliant business, but it's very, very Glasgow. And long term, she'd like to franchise. So she's going to have to do some work in adapting to be more geographically friendly. How can you position your offer as a must-have? So social media is no longer optional for companies. Her service ensures clients don't miss opportunities. If your competitor's doing it, then it's worth looking at. Should you be doing it as well? And what is additional value you can provide to enhance your offer? So she offers free monthly reporting calls and priority response times to her regular clients. And what is your pricing strategy? Does it reflect on the true value of your offer? So she has tiered. She's got a starter, a growth, and a premium. And it's something for all stages. She's going in to her market is those SMEs, and she's got something for each of them. So she's able to match up her pricing strategy to the customer that's inquiring with her. And what objections might you have? So cost and trust. I think we've all come across that cost question before. So she addresses it with a starter package and the testimonials. It's really important that you know what the negative part of sales is going to be so that you're ready to answer it. And how will you communicate your offer? So again, we know that her clientele are on LinkedIn, Instagram, and she is at networking events. And the easiest way is for a customer to say yes and purchase your offer. So she does a 3-month test package with clear deliverables, and she's available to book a one-to-one online or via message. So it's really important, how do your customers say yes? One of my customers recently I was her customer first, and I know that she had the information I needed on her website. I had seen it before. She'd sent me the direct link. But when I went back to find it on the website, when I inevitably lost that link, I couldn't find it anywhere. There was so much stuff on the website, I could not find the bit that I needed. And eventually, after about half an hour searching, I dropped her a message and said, can you just send me this link because I can't find the information. If I didn't know her, if I hadn't been speaking to her, if I didn't see her as a potential customer as well, I wouldn't have spent that time. I would have moved on to look at a competitor's website. So if it's hard to buy from you, that is a massive, massive red flag for sales. How can you follow up with customers to ensure satisfaction? Monthly review calls, quarterly growth strategy updates, and planning sessions. So this is how she's going to make sure that she is always up to date with what our customer needs. Okay, so we're on to sales commitment. I'm just going to quickly put in the chat the sheets again, because I know a couple of people have come in a little bit later, and I want to make sure everyone's got those sheets. So let me just add them in quickly for you. Okay, there we go. Right, your sales commitment. So assuming in the last half hour, you have now totally nailed your ideal customer, you've mapped up your funnel and all the different ways that you can speak to your customer, and you've got your signature sales offer sorted and all the negative parts that might come, how are you going to answer them? Then we want to go on to what you're going to commit to do. So first up, you've got your lead generation, how you generate new leads this week. Now I changed this slide from just how we generate new leads to this week, because I think it's really important just to make action and go ahead and do things. And if you can add on one item this week to do, then that's you a whole step closer. So what are you going to do this week to generate new leads? Are you going to go to a networking event? Are you going to nail your social media or get some more posts out there? Maybe it's cold outreach. I don't know about anyone else, but cold outreach always gives me the shivers. I used to do it for years and years in hospitality. Um, but are you going to do that cold outreach? Or are you going to follow up on referrals? It might be that you go, all of these are relevant, and that's brilliant. Um, but maybe make a list of all the ways that you generate your leads and what are you going to go to do today. I love diary management. So in my diary, every single day, I have one task for sales. Um, and it might be in the first of the month, I always have book 2 networking events for the month. I have 2 days in my diary every month to do social media. On a Friday, I always reach out to every single new person that's followed me either on LinkedIn or Instagram, and I send them a little thank you note just with a free download for them that could be of value. That's twofold. I'm trying to be nice. I appreciate them following me, but also I want them on my database. So I send them that little outreach. And then any referrals, I keep them in my CRM and I just make sure once a week I just drop them a wee message. If they don't get back to me within 3 messages, I'll move it on, and then I'll move it on. Maybe I'll do it once a week for 3 weeks, move it on to 6 months, move it on to 1 year. So it might just not be the right time for them. I don't want to harass them, but I do want to keep in touch. And then what are your follow-ups? Who do you need to follow up with? Who has inquired with you that you may not have followed up? Does anyone else have a folder in their inbox that's follow-up that you need to follow up and it just sits there gathering dust? Maybe it's worth going to have a look at that and see what is in your follow-up folder that you could send a wee message to today. Who are your potential clients that you haven't touched base with yet or have inquired and you've never actually got back to them or chased them? And who are your existing customers and can you touch base with them? I was at, I don't know if anyone's heard of Ideas Fest. It's a business festival down in North London, and I was there last week. And I was in a talk, and it was an AI talk, and using WhatsApp as well. So he said to me, he said to the audience, send a message right now in WhatsApp to a previous customer and just say, I'm at a talk. It made me think of you. Just checking in to see how you are and what I can do for you. And I thought, oh my God, this is so cringy. I'm going to have to do this. Everyone got their phones out. We all WhatsApped. That customer's now come back and said, that was perfect timing. I need help with X, Y, or Z, and we're meeting next week. So you just never know when your existing customers or previous customers might just have something for you. And you're not trying to sell them at this point, you're just sending them a little reminder that you're there and thinking of them. Sales conversions. So how many sales conversions will you have? And this is not just actual hard sales. How many discovery calls, messages, meetings, presentations, etc. are you going to do this week? I always like to set myself a target. I work on my own, there's no one to check it, but I have it on the wall. I always like to do at least 1 webinar each month. I've told you about all my little diary things for keeping in touch with people online. I always want to sell the minimum of 2 one-to-ones every single month for months ahead. And I have a number of social media management clients that I like to have at all times. So I have my conversions and how many meetings, etc. I like to have. And as soon as they're ticked off, I love that because it's up to you how you work it. But for me, I like to then use that as, okay, if I've reached those targets, then I can either push further or I can use it for time for growth, time to do more of this stuff. Closing the deal. So what actions will you take to close the actual deal? So special offers is one. We've all seen the million Black Friday sales, but it's not necessary. You can just be really good at what you do or have a really good product or service. You don't need to do a deal, but it might be something. We all have them up our sleeves, those little things that help to close a deal. You might need to overcome objections, which we'll come on to. And you might need to do some more proposals or adapt proposals. I'm going to see a client after this who's had 3 proposals now, and this is their final meeting. but you know, if it's a good enough client, you will adapt them to suit. So what actions do you have to close a deal? And do you have all the knowledge you need and that list of closing actions as well? We all have the things we want to sell. We all build these funnels. But when it comes to closing, very few people actually have the list of deals or the list of things they need to actually get it across the line. Okay, customer retention. So how will you nurture existing customers? So is it just regular check-ins? Do you have loyalty offers? Potentially you've got upsells. And if nothing else, get a testimonial from them. If they've been a happy customer, get a testimonial. So even if they're not coming back, they're helping you sell on to the next person. Okay, so for all of you, I want you to make one commitment. What it is you're going to do this week, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it. And I don't mind if it's a particularly lead generating thing or you're going back to the start of this and doing your actual ideal customer. I would love to see you all go back and do the ideal customer part just to see if it's still the way that it was when you started your job or your company. Okay, let's look at Sarah really quickly. You'll all be fed up of Sarah, but you'll know her well. Lead generation. So she's going to attend one networking event weekly. That's a good effort. And post 3 times a week on LinkedIn and Instagram. And she will commit to blocking 2 hours every Monday to plan and schedule her content. For follow-ups, so past discovery calls that didn't convert, she's going to touch base with them. And she's going to commit to email 5 contacts every Friday. So you can see under all these questions, she's got what she's going to do, what is she committing to doing it, and when she's going to do it. And put it in your diary. Because I don't know if you're like me, if it's not in the diary, it doesn't exist and it's not going to happen. So I have repeat things every single week. On a Friday, add new 50 LinkedIn connections every week. I guarantee I wouldn't remember that if it wasn't in my diary. Sales conversations. So aim for 3 discovery calls per week. Now, I don't know how many people on this call still do sales calls, but it could be whatever platform you tend to connect with. It might be LinkedIn, it might be WhatsApp. I had a really interesting stat actually on sales on different platforms last week. So if you send 100 emails, this was a particular campaign, so send 100 emails, 37 emails were opened and 4 people bought. 100 sales phone calls, 11 answered, 5 called back, 8 people bought. Said 100 WhatsApp automated messages, 99 people opened the message, and I think it was something like 79 people bought. So have a look as well. How are you doing those discovery contacts, be it calls, messages? When I heard that stat, I've switched from email onto WhatsApp now and building a system to do that on. So she's doing 3 discovery calls. How are you doing your outreach? She's going to book through Calendly and promote it via LinkedIn posts. Closing deals. So offer an October starter package with no setup fees for quick sign-ups. And then commitment is share in all follow-ups. And for retention, monthly check-ins and ask happy clients for referrals or testimonials. And our commitment is to send personalized emails at the end of each month. So your takeaways from this one, a comment. How did they get numbers to swap WhatsApp approach email? Oh, Colin, I'll answer that afterwards. It was such an interesting talk. So pick specific actions and put them in your diary. I cannot stress enough how important it is to put this in your diary. My diary is crazy, but every little action goes in my diary so that I make sure it happens. It also allows you to see how much time you're actually spending on sales versus marketing. Protect time for lead generation and follow-ups every week. I have a client who has just brought on a virtual assistant for about a year. I've asked her to do her follow-ups on a Monday. She doesn't do it, but she knows that she can sell a minimum of 2 more packages every week just doing the follow-up. So actually her virtual assistant is paid for in a quarter of the time by doing that. So make sure that you've protected time to do the follow-ups. Keep a steady flow of discovery calls. Make it easy to say yes with a simple starter offer, and close the loop with monthly check-ins and referral asks. Okay, and your next step is to turn these into calendar blocks and track them weekly so activity leads to sales. I just want to do this, keep a flow of discovery calls. My diary is pretty full now between now and the end of the year. And it gives me the fear because I always tell my clients, keep going to the networking events, keep the leads coming in, because when these clients' contracts end, you need ones at the other side. And it's so hard to do if you're busy to keep that sales and marketing going. But at least try and commit to a couple of things each week, even if you're at that stage, so that that funnel doesn't dry up. Okay, overcoming objections. It's too expensive. So emphasize the value over price and explain what the return on investment is going to be, what the long-term benefits are, and how that relates to cost savings. I think I did a survey recently, and cost is one of the things that comes up most for a lot of my clients, and a lot of them feel the pressure to bring their price down to offer a discount. You don't always need to do that. They might just not be your customer, and that's okay. And I think if you can get used to in sales, people say no, that's all right. I think I need to think about it. Well, ask them what concerns they have. Provide case studies, testimonials. What I'd say is, don't pressure people. Just ask them nice and say, no bother, I'll send some testimonials that might help you read over while you're thinking. So don't pressure people, but don't be scared to ask the questions. I'm not sure it's right for me. We'll just clarify their needs and demonstrate how it is right. And if it's not right, that's okay. If you genuinely think it's not right, that's all right too. I don't have time right now. So offer a flexible timeline or suggest a smaller commitment to start. I've never heard your company before. Understandable. But we build trust through those testimonials, reviews, and social proof. So make sure you have your bank of content that people can't argue with. I am happy with my current provider. So highlight your unique value proposition and key differentiators. Don't know if anyone has people coming to their door to try and sell them internet all the time. I do, and I never answer the door, but my partner does, and we have currently changed internet 3 times in a year, but half the price. Nothing wrong with the customer we had, they just sold it much better than what we had. So we didn't even go looking for it. I need to check with my team partner to provide additional information to help them make an informed decision. So if they're going off to talk with somebody, you can guarantee that person might have different questions. Make sure they have all the information. So again, there's no stumbling block to buying. Can you offer a discount? Well, that's up to you, but you can again go back to explain why the pricing reflects on the quality and the results. And I had a bad experience with a similar service before. Well, acknowledge that. You know, there's nothing worse than having a bad experience and getting burnt from it, but show how you're different again. Again, a lot of it will come down to trust. When people work with me, it can take them 6 months to a year before they book with me. What I do is very in depth, so it doesn't suit everybody. But acknowledge it. Don't dismiss it just because, or don't necessarily diss that other company. It might just be a bad day, a bad employee. It could be any number of factors. But acknowledge it and see how you're different. And again, it might be bringing up that trust factor of testimonials and case studies again. And how do I know it'll work for me? We'll offer a trial, money back guarantee, or risk-free commitment. A a lot of the reasons I do webinars and free downloads is so people can get to know me and the content and see if we gel or not. So these tend to be a lot of the main ones that come up, and a lot of it is being confident about having this list of rejections and questions and knowing what your answer is going to be without being pushy. Okay, I had to add this in. What is marketing and what is sales? Because a lot of the first bit we did around your ideal customer is very much deemed to be marketing. And a lot of people do all the marketing but don't do the sales part. So I think a lot of people don't understand the difference between them. So it's important to know this. So marketing is what attracts the customers and the warm leads and those potential customers. It builds awareness, interest, and trust so people are ready to talk to you. So that is the role in marketing. The role of marketing is not to then sell to them. That's where sales comes in. And that's when it turns that qualified interest into revenue. So it qualifies, advises, proposes, negotiates, closes, and maintains the relationship. So it's really important if you work in sales that you work hand in hand with marketing to ensure that they have the right information to bring you in the leads that you can then try and convert. A lot of places I've worked in the past, they work so independently, marketing and sales, but you need to understand how they work and they need to understand how you work. You need to understand your ideal customer as much as marketing does to ensure that you can do all the other parts. Okay, so, and this gives some examples. So for instance, if we look at social media, so the marketing would be a tip-based post. The sales part would be reply promptly and invite to a discovery call. I always say if somebody makes an action, it invites you for an action afterwards when it comes to sales and marketing. So a lead magnet download. So the marketing might automate a welcome and a 3-part nurture emails. But the sales part is a personal email within 24 hours to ask them what their goal is, ask them if they want to book a meeting. Webinars or workshops, marketing will promote, register, deliver value, share the replay. But the sales part is that thank you, the sending the slides, the invite, the short call. Right now, I am marketing. When I email you afterwards with all the information, that's me offering you my details to take it further. That's the sales part. Paid ad form, website contact form or SEO inquiry. So clear offers and FAQs is the marketing. Call them back within a couple of hours to qualify and again book that in that initial discovery call is the sales part. Targeted ads with a simple message. And then your sales part is again following up, sharing something else, booking in that call. Case studies or testimonials, so publishing proof on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever platforms you use. We're just sticking with Sarah's examples for today. But then messaging those warm engagers and ask if they want a similar outcome. Networking. Networking, going to a networking event is a marketing activity. It's not a sales activity. When you do the follow-up afterwards is the sales part. And then if a referral comes in, so the marketing part is provide referrer with a simple intro script. And then the sales part is going to be thanking the referrer, prioritize contact and fast track discovery. So it's really important to know the difference between marketing and sales and what bit you're doing. Okay, so I've done that in time and less time for questions. So the next step, so your ideal customer clarity. So really nail down, write one sentence that defines who, where, and why they buy. If you do nothing else after this, do these parts. Sales journey map. So list one touch point for awareness, interest, consideration, decision, and retention. Diary time set. So put time in your diary for lead generation follow-ups and discovery calls blocked every week. And starter offer live, so a simple package with clear deliverables and an easy yes. Metrics tracked weekly, really important to track what you're doing. Not everything will work, but if you don't track it, you might not know, or you might stick at it longer than necessary. So track your leads, your conversion rate, your time to close, and what is your retention? What percentage do you keep coming back to buy? Feedback loop active. So sales insights shape content, and content supports the sales. So keep everything going in a loop. And in the next 24 hours, I want you to publish one value post, message 3 warm contacts, and book 2 calls. That might sound scary, but you know what? If you miss all the rest of them and you do that one part this week, in the next 24 hours, put one post out, message 3 warm contacts, and book in 2 calls or 2 one-to-ones. That is such a massive step forward in your sales. And once you get into the habit of making those small steps, you will keep doing it because you'll start to see the benefit. Okay, so I'm just going to escape this. Right, that was a lot of information to throw at you really quickly. Hopefully you all have the worksheets there. So Colin, any questions, just put it in the chat. How did you get the phone numbers to do the WhatsApp approach? Email addresses are easier. Absolutely. And this has been a massive, a huge difficulty. I'm not going to lie, it's been hard because it's easy to get emails. A couple of things I've started doing. I now have a QR code. So if ever I meet anybody, instead of asking to sign up or give me a business card, I just get them to scan the QR code, and it instantly takes them to their WhatsApp with an automated message. They just press send, and that's it. And they'll get that information. So the very first thing I do is do the QR code so that they're in my inbox and I'm in their WhatsApp inbox, and then that kicks off straight away just a message that says, lovely to meet you, here's my information, I'll be in touch. So when you do those WhatsApp automations, the different QR codes can set off different automations, and this particular one just says contact or nice to meet you, and the word is there, they only have to press send. So that is one way of doing it. I also this week did a panel event and I had created before going to it all the top takeaways from it, like this worksheet. And I'd said to them at the end, look, if you want to scan this QR code, then it'll start an automation that you will then get the worksheet straight into your WhatsApp. So pretty much the same way, but I'm having to start from scratch building up the phone numbers. But with those conversion rates of the WhatsApps in your hand at all times was so much higher than the email that it's worth the effort. And I can already see that within 6 months, I will have at least 10 times the number of phone numbers in my database than I would have emails. Okay, hopefully that helps. But Colin, if you want more information, I can send you the stats and the presentation that I watched that totally got me hooked on it after this as
Good,
well.
thank you.
Does
Good.
anyone get any more questions? Or is everyone just like, that's a lot of information that I need to take away with me now? Okay, if there's no more questions, I will drop an email out after this. It will have my contact details, the presentation, this recording. And if you do have any questions, please get back in touch. If you have booked via Viridor, then you will get a questionnaire just for your feedback after this. Please be as honest as you like. All feedback is good feedback. But yeah, I am here if you've got any questions after you go away and think about this. I'm just looking at the slides, and it was 48 slides that I just ran through there really quickly. So take it away and digest it, and please get in touch if you've got any questions at all. And thank you so much for taking the time to come on this morning, and thank you to Viridor for sorting it as well.
Thank you so much.